Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Fanfics 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto fall in love with Fu part 1. And if you enjoyed this fanfic then please give me hype instead of comment and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Get out of my store you damn hoodlum. The sound of a loud thud followed by pained groans and a few choice curses mumbled under breath were heard through a street in the bustling Konohagakure no Seto. Of course the young blonde boy from whom these muttered annoyances were uttered in irritation went completely ignored by the rest of the world save for one particularly irate shop owner who stared at the boy with poorly concealed hatred. What's the big idea, old man? I gotta get shuriken and kunai so I can train to be a ninja. The only reply the whiskered child received was a huff of contempt as the burly shopkeeper turned away. As if they would ever let a brat like you become a ninja. He was about to slam the door to his shop closed to emphasize that point but thought better of it, quickly turning to stare heatedly at the blue-eyed visage that was the unwitting center for so much hatred in the village. And don't ever let me catch you in my store again or there'll be hell to pay. With that he finally slammed the door closed, the small door sign flipping to open by the breeze in a twist of irony. Yeah, just you see. The young blonde turned to the rest of the people in the street who continued to go about their day as if this event weren't even happening. You'll all see, I'm gonna be Hokage one day. With that the whiskered child took off down the street at a surprising speed for such a small and obviously malnourished boy. After he was gone the residents of the busy shopping district turned to watch him go, some of the older women whispering in hushed voices. Did you see him today? Disgraceful. I don't know what Hokage-sama is thinking allowing someone like that to join the Shinobi Academy. I know, my little Amy-chan would be in the same year as him. I just know he'll try to corrupt her. Well, I know for sure I am warning my boy away from him, that little demon won't destroy the next generation as well. Of course all these conspiratorial whispers were lost on the running child who was too busy staving off tears percolating at the edge of high S vision. Hey Gigi, I need your help. Glittering blue eyes blinked in surprise at the empty office, framed by the panoramic backdrop of Konoha in the expansive window that lit the room. Gigi, the young blonde looked around in mild confusion. It was rare he wasn't able to find his grandfather figure in his office, often poring over various sheets of paper that confused the whiskered youth when he tried to read them over the man's shoulder. He's not here, well I guess he's out doing ninja stuff, he is the Hokage after all. With that simple piece of 7-year-old logic sorting out his confusion the boy quickly went to work. Immediately he headed around the back of the large, ornate oak desk which was piled up with copious stacks of various mission reports and budgeting requests, not that the blonde was at all interested in those. Instead he began to rifle through the drawers of the desk, uncaring that he was messing up the painstakingly sorted filing system. Finally with a whine of annoyance the whiskered blonde threw up his hands in defeat before running them through his messy golden locks. Why doesn't Gigi have any shuriken or kunai? Suddenly a mischievous grin that many Ambu had come to take warning of over the years split his lightly tanned face. As he looked over at the large picture of the fourth Hokage on the wall. Gigi thinks I don't know about his super secret hiding spot. The grin still splitting his whiskered cheeks the blonde quickly made his way over to the framed photo, pulling it to one side in a smooth motion to reveal a large metal safe. The old man shouldn't underestimate Naruto Uzumaki. The small boy pressed his ear to the cold metal, never once noticing the strange arrangement of kanji and symbol that spread out from the point of contact that glowed a welcoming blue before fading back into the safe. He twisted the dial with well-practiced hands until the last click echoed through the empty room. With a small cry of success Naruto swung the large metal door open, only to frown with displeasure. He had seen the old Hokage open the safe many times but he had never seen what was inside. Of course his childlike mind had instantly thought up many cool and mysterious possibilities which were all the more reason he was disappointed. A stupid scroll. Of course the scroll was about as tall as Naruto was himself but that was besides the point to the young blonde. Of all the things for Gigi to keep in an awesome safe like this and he chooses a dumb scroll. With a small sigh the blonde tried to pick up the scroll anyway, never noticing the 3 sets of hands that instinctually tightened over their kunai pouches in the darker corners of the ceiling. With a grunt of effort, Naruto managed to lift the enormous scroll about an inch before he was forced to drop it with a dull thud. Squinting his eyes in an incredible impression of a fox, Naruto frowned at the large scroll before noticing a glint of metal. With a cry of success again, the blonde reached into the safe, pulling out his prize. His cry of delight, however, quickly changed into a look of intense confusion. What kind of weird kunai is this? He turned it over in his small hands, noting the odd three-pronged shape and kanji written on a slip of paper wrapped around the handle. With a sigh, he tossed it back into the safe. It was obviously useless with such a weird design, probably some ancient antique his GG was keeping as a relic of the past. He swung the door closed with a disappointed sigh before sliding the picture back into what he thought was the correct position. With his brow furrowed, the blonde took one last sweeping look around the office before a light bulb seemingly clicked over his head. His short legs quickly carried him back over to the desk where his hands began to frantically sweep back and forth under the polished wooden surface. Finally, a small, almost unnoticeable click grazed his small ears as a secret compartment jutted out the side of the desk. This one was much smaller than the safe, and its contents confused Naruto even more. All there seemed to be were a small orange book, a strange glass sphere, a few sheets of paper, and a normal-looking scroll with a spiral design printed on the front. Nothing again. How can Gigi have no kunai in his office? Naruto slammed the small compartment back into place with an irritated grunt before walking out of the room, a silent black form dropping down to the floor behind him out of his notice. When the Hokage walked in later on that afternoon with the delegate from Kumo, he only found a rather amused dog-masked Ambu waiting for him with interesting news. Naruto once again walked back down the slightly less busy streets, the people beginning to retire to their homes as the sun dipped below the horizon. A frown marred his face as he thought about his predicament. Tomorrow he was supposed to start at the Shinobi Academy. It was a year earlier than most did, but the Hokage had assured him he would do fine. The only problem was that all the stores refused to sell him an shuriken or kunai. The small blonde was so lost in his thoughts he wasn't able to react in time when a tall man suddenly appeared in his path. The result was Naruto bouncing back like he had just walked into a wall while the tall dark-haired man just sneered derisively. Naruto looked up, expecting to be reprimanded for being so careless. However, all he saw was the telltale logo of the Konoha police force in a flash of red eyes before the man walked on, ignoring the blonde like he had never even been there. Naruto picked himself up off the dusty ground, mumbling to himself about unobservant people before the figurative light bulb once again clicked over his head. A grin snaked its way across his face as he took off on small legs in the direction of the Uchiha compound. Those people with the funny red eyes always have kunai pouches. I'm sure if I borrow a few, nobody would notice. With that in mind and with a small chuckle to himself, Naruto quickly found himself winding through the streets towards the western districts of Konoha. A good half an hour later, and the whiskered child was staring up at the rather imposing stone wall that separated the Uchiha compound from Konoha. Ha proper. He never really thought about the Uchiha all that much, but he found them having a wall around their compound sort of strange. With a small dismissive shrug, he quickly began to scale the wall, using handholds and cracks that would normally be too small for any other hand to grip. Finally, with a slightly comical wiggling of his legs, he flipped himself over and dropped to the ground on the other side of the wall. He rubbed his head sheepishly as he looked down at the small flower bed he had crushed from his impromptu landing, but quickly pushed it from his mind. It was darker now, the sun having fully set beyond the horizon, and it provided Naruto with great cover as he stealthily, at least to him anyway, made his way through the back garden of whoever's home he had landed in. Strangely, none of the lights in the house were on. It wasn't that late at night. In fact, Naruto would usually be preparing himself a cup ramen for dinner about now. To satiate his curiosity, he peered in through a low window, but sure enough, the house seemed deserted. However, instead of trying to think why the blonde just grinned, this would make it all the easier to grab some kunai shuriken. He tried to lift the window, but it wouldn't budge an inch. With a small grunt of annoyance, Naruto abandoned it and quickly hurried back through the garden, out onto an M.P.T.Y. street. Once again, the blonde found it curious that nobody was out. He had never seen a street in Konoha so quiet before midnight. Feeling slightly less sure of himself but staying strong regardless, Naruto scampered across the street, ducking into another alley between two homes. Stopping to think for a moment, he remembered that all the clan compounds in Konoha were somewhat self-sustaining. That meant there had to be stores to buy things, and he hoped that would include ninja supplies. Ducking his head back out into the moonlit street, he nearly squealed with delight as he spotted exactly what he was looking for. The store was across the street from him, a large sign hanging out front that Naruto couldn't quite make out, but the various weapons in the window were visible clear as day, as was the large fan symbol emblazoned across the door. With as much speed as his small body could muster, he dashed across to the door, giving it an experimental push only to find it locked. Frowning, he looked around, noting the small flap at the bottom of the door, obviously made for whatever animal the shop owner kept. He was about to go around to the side alley to find another way in when he heard the sound of approaching footsteps echo through the silent streets. His eyes widened in surprise and fear of being caught. Naruto immediately ducked down, pushing himself through the small animal flap that was obviously never designed for human use. He quickly found himself stuck, his hips just a little too big to get through. However, as the footsteps came closer, he found a new burst of energy. Scrabbling with all he could and finally managing to push his light body into the store. He sat there, leaning against the door, just panting as he calmed himself down. He was beginning to regret coming here. Generally people left him alone in Konoha, but sometimes the people would be slightly less forgiving. He noticed the people with red eyes tended to be among that group. Check around some more. I was sure I heard something. Naruto's heart nearly stopped beating in his chest as he heard the obviously male voice call out from the street. Yeah, I don't see anything. I'm sure you were just hearing things. I swear, you've been too jumpy lately, gotta calm down. Another voice joined the first, sounding much closer than his companion, making Naruto break out in a cold sweat. Shut up, you're no Fugaku-sama's orders. While the meetings are taking place, the streets have to be cleared. We don't want anybody to find out what's going on. If there's a spy out here from the Hokage, we have to flush them out and deal with them. Even in his fear, Naruto managed to be confused by the conversation taking place now painfully close to him. Why would the Hokage need to spy on his own shinobi? That didn't make sense at all. To satisfy his burning curiosity, he ever so slowly poked his head up and looked out the window, only to immediately duck back down as he caught a glimpse of burning red eyes. Hey, what was that? The voice sounded suspicious and footsteps began to draw near to the shop he was hiding in. What? The voice sounded somewhat bored, as if he was just eager to go home and relax instead of trudging around outside for threats he was certain wouldn't be there. There was something in the shop, I'm sure of it. Naruto gulped in a way he hoped wasn't too loud, even though it seemed deafening in his own ears. He quickly scurried further into the shop, hoping to use the shadows to hide himself. On the way, his hand closed over the hilt of a kunai from one of the counters and he instinctively clutched it to his chest as if it would protect him from anything. He pressed himself as close to the wall as he could beneath a counter as he heard the doorknob rattle a few times before the sound of a key clicking in a lock was heard. Footsteps came next, each slap of a sandal against a wooden floor like a cannon firing right next to the terrified blonde. That next minute was agonizing on Naruto's nerves as the Uchiha continued to walk around the small shop, before sighing to himself and walking towards the door. As his hand touched the doorknob to close it, the blonde let out a small breath he didn't even realize he had been holding. Unfortunately, it wasn't small enough, and before the air had fully left his lungs, a hand wrapped around his collar, yanking him to his feet so that his eyes were level with a set of angry Sharingan. Well, what do we have here? A little young to be a spy, don't you think? He sneered across at his companion, but Naruto made use of his distraction as lashed out with the kunai clutched to his chest on instinct. With a cry of pain and anger, the man dropped Naruto, clutching his arm that was now spraying blood in a long arc. Naruto wasted no time and sprinted out of the store, slipping between the legs of the man's surprised companion in one smooth motion before vaulting to his feet and taking off at a sprint. The two Uchiha weren't surprised for long and they quickly took off after the tiny child, using their shinobi training to enhance the muscles in their legs to take off at incredible speed. By the time Naruto was dropping back down on the other side of the wall, the two shinobi were right behind him. Using speed and energy, the blonde didn't even realize he took off again, staying just ahead of his pursuers. He did everything in his power to keep the two Uchiha from getting him, sliding through holes in fences that they were too big to get through, using his knowledge of the alleyways to confuse them, and even at one point grabbing a peacefully sleeping cat and throwing it at the men. It turned out Tora, as the name on its collar read, didn't appreciate the early wake up and managed to keep the two would-be capturers busy for a surprising amount of time. Long enough at least for the terrified blonde to reach his destination. It wasn't all that uncommon for Naruto to be chased due to his recent history as somewhat of a prankster. However, in those situations he would have pre-planned his escape, usually with a few hidden surprises for his pursuers, giving him ample time to make it to the Hokage Tower or his home where he knew he was safe. Right now, though, he had no plan, no tricks to pull out of thin air, and there was only one place nearby he would feel safe. He burst through the flaps in front of Ichiraku's ramen, surprising the young teenage girl washing dishes behind the counter. She didn't have time to even cry out in surprise before the whiskered blonde had jumped the small counter, using the seats as a springboard. The brown-haired girl just looked down at his quivering form in shock, but only had time to do that before two men appeared in front of her, almost making her drop the bowl she was cleaning in fright. Quickly regaining her composure, she placed a well-worn smile on her face. "Welcome to Ichiraku Ramen, I'm Ayame, how can I help you?" One of the men, his Sharingan active and spinning wildly, gave the small shopper once over before giving a contemptuous snort. He span on his heel and marched out, the scowl on his face only intensifying. The man behind him gave Ayame an apologetic look before hurrying out after his companion. Letting out a small sigh, Ayame turned to the still shaking Naruto, a small frown alighting on her usually upbeat and smiling face. "What did you do now, Naruto?" She let out another sigh as the blonde boy gave her a sheepish, if not slightly strained smile as he rubbed the back of his neck, out of habit or nerves she couldn't tell. She finally allowed a soft smile to play across her lips as she offered him a hand, which he gratefully took, clinging to her arm like a lifeline. She brought him around to the back of the shop, leading him like a stray dog to the couch in the small living space back there. "Just stay there, Naruto, I'll go make us some tea, okay? Then you can explain whatever silly prank you pulled this time." Naruto gave a small quivering nod, earning him a glowing smile as Ayame quickly moved back to the kitchen area. "Tea, thanks, Ayame-chan." The girl turned around again at the door, holding on to the frame as she smiled serenely at the little boy she considered a little brother in everything but blood. "Hey, what are big sisters for, nay?" Naruto finally seemed to relax at that, settling more into the couch as Ayame finally moved off to prepare some tea. An older man with graying hair and a fatherly smile seemingly permanently set on his wrinkling features chose that moment to walk down the stairs. "Oh, see what all the commotion was about. Ah, Naruto, my boy, what brings you to our humble abode?" The small blonde turned at the familiar voice, a small but true smile appearing on his whiskered face at the sight of one of his precious people. "Tuchi Ojisan." The man simply chuckled at the exuberant cry as he settled a hand on the young boy's shoulder, his calloused palm easily dwarfing the boy's small frame. "Now who did you manage to upset this time, my boy? I hope it wasn't a Hyuga. You know how they reacted last time." He let out a throaty chuckle as he fondly remembered Naruto half crawling into his toe, one arm and leg having been at the receiving end of the Hyuga's fearsome taijutsu style. It had taken a few hours before the boy could feel anything at all in those limbs. Naruto, on the other hand, just had an indignant if somewhat sheepish look on his face. "I didn't do anything. They chased after me." Tucci just gave him a knowing smile. Honestly, he believed the boy's pranks would one day get him in a lot of trouble. Still, he and Ayame would be waiting for him with a warm bowl of ramen and a warm smile at the end of the day. Nothing less for their best customer and his surrogate son. Of course they did, Naruto, and Iwagaka has a solid gold statue of the fourth Hokage. Naruto looked up at him with wide blue eyes, his face looking like a monkey who had been given a truckload of bananas. "Really? That's so cool, Tabeo." Tucci just gave a small sigh. He should have known better than to try and use sarcasm on somebody as innocent as Naruto. "No, You see Naruto, the blonde boy in question blinked in surprise when Teuchi suddenly cut off before jumping in surprise as he felt some kind of warm liquid spray across his back. He looked around only for his eyes to go wide in shock and terror. Teuchi was on the floor, unmoving, a single kunai sticking out of his blood-soaked throat. Behind him stood the two Uchiha who had been chasing him, a cruel glint in the spinning red eyes of the one in front. Orochimaru, what are you doing? The one behind seemed shocked by his companion's actions, his eyes flickering between the dead man on the floor and his fellow Uchiha. Shut it, Takaho. There can't be any witnesses. Do you know what will happen if word gets to the Hokage about the coup? Unfortunately, Ayame chose that inopportune moment to walk back into the room, a tray of tea balanced in one hand. Time seemed to slow as she took in the scene in front of her. Two men standing over Naruto, kunai poised to strike, her father on the floor, blood still spilling from his throat as his empty eyes stared at her. Her scream carried out into the night only to cut off a moment later as three kunai found their way into her stomach. She could only stare down at the growing red patch forming on her usually pristine apron, a quizzical expression on her face as if she couldn't quite believe what was happening. It only lasted a moment before she fell to the floor, first to her knees then, with a dull thump, onto her side. Silence once again fell on the small room as Naruto stared in shock and horror at where his surrogate sister lay on the floor, unmoving and pale. The Uchiha's arm was still outstretched from throwing the kunai and his friend was looking at him in even more shock. Then, as if a silent command had been given, everybody moved. Naruto scrabbled to his feet at the same moment the lead Uchiha lurched forward to grab him. The small blonde just avoided his grip, sliding across the floor to where Ayame had fallen. Ayame Nichan, please Ayame Nichan. He tugged fruitlessly at her clothes, willing her with all his might to wake up, to turn over and show that she was okay, that she was still alive. Suddenly rough hands grabbed him by the collar, yanking him around to face Sharingan eyes once again. The black tomo framed by fields of red spun slowly at first before picking up speed. Soon they were a blur, as hypnotizing as they were frightening. Naruto suddenly felt incredibly drowsy, like a huge portion of energy had been ripped from his body. He couldn't explain it. It was like a battery had been pulled out of him, leaving him cold and tired. Out of slowly closing eyes he caught sight of his hands, colored red by Ayame's blood, and suddenly something new welled up in his chest. Anger, a blind, roaring fury that he had never felt before. Fury at these people for taking those people precious to him, rage at the world that could be so cruel to him, and most of all anger at himself, at his own inability to protect the people that meant more to him than his own life. Ugh! Pain, sudden blinding pain welled up behind his eyes like somebody had lit them on fire. Suddenly he wasn't tired, he had more energy than ever. Everything seemed to slide into perfect focus, colors coming alive like they never had before. Then a pressure seemed to build up inside of him, welling up and begging to be released. Everything flashed for a brief moment in perfect clarity, time frozen as if captured by a picture, then, nothing. Naruto woke up with a groan. He wasn't sure how long it had been, but he definitely wasn't in the hospital of his apartment, so it couldn't have been long. In fact, when Naruto looked up he could see the night sky. The moon stared back at him blankly. He lifted his head wearily, surprised to find himself in what looked like a large crater in the ground. He didn't want to be here to explain what happened when Ninja arrived, so he quickly staggered to his feet. His vision swam for a moment, but in a way he was unused to. Everything seemed more vivid than it used to, colors were brighter and far more visible than they should be this late at night. What's more, a strange glow seemed to permeate the area, as if everything was emitting a strange ethereal light. Confused and disoriented, he quickly clambered out of the crater, his hands finding purchase on the recently disturbed earth with surprising ease. After a few moments of aimless wandering down the road he finally stopped, falling to his knees. He never even noticed when he passed right out the gates, the Chunin guards strangely absent from their post. He just stared at the ground for a moment, the hard paving stones feeling rough and uncomfortable underneath his knees, not that he particularly cared. First one, then two small drops of liquid pattered onto the ground, staining it a slightly darker color. He stayed there for a while, just crying to himself silently as the full force of what happened hit him. At some point the skies above him opened and the rain began to pour, lightly at first but with increasing intensity. It was as if the heavens themselves shared in his lament. The only family he had ever known, the only people he had ever known to truly love and care for him were gone. Killed in front of him. Not only that, but he had killed. There was no mistaking the sight of the two mangled corpses next to the large crater, the police force symbol emblazoned on ragged strips of cloth. It didn't matter that he had no idea how he did it, he just knew he did. One moment there was a surge of power behind his eyes, the next he was waking up in a nightmarish scene. He hadn't even seen Ayame or Teuchi's bodies and he wasn't sure he wanted to after seeing the state the two Uchiha were in. After what seemed like an eternity of just kneeling there in the rain, Naruto pulled himself back onto two shaking legs. He couldn't go back, not now, not after he had killed two shinobi of the leaf. He may have been called naive and sometimes even stupid, but he knew the punishment for murder. With a choked sob he nearly fell back to his knees. He was a murderer. What would his Gigi think of him now? What would Ayame or Teuchi think? They were the kindest, most caring people he had ever known. What would it be like for the Hokage to have to sign his death warrant? He shook his head viciously. He wouldn't let that happen. He would just go away, far away where he couldn't hurt anybody anymore and nobody could hurt him. His mind made up, if not still slightly shaken, Naruto took first one hesitant step before breaking out into a run. He didn't know where he was going and at that moment he didn't particularly care, just that it was away from Konoha, away from what used to be his home. Chiriku was having a strange day, that much was certain when his teacup had unexpectedly cracked, staining his robes. After that one of the clocks on the walls had fallen off as he passed and he had found a dead bird on his windowsill. He had never been a particularly superstitious man despite being a monk. He had seen far too much in his time in the 12 Guardian Ninja for any of that nonsense. Even so, it was fairly hard to ignore all the strange omens he was receiving. And now he was on guard, dutifully patrolling the grounds of the fire temple. It was normally a rather mundane task, loathed by his fellow monks almost as much as grave duty. So imagine his surprise when he stumbled across a small blonde child, looking as if he hadn't eaten in some days, just lying in the middle of a forest clearing. He may have been a trained warrior, but he was a monk first, so his first inclination was to rush over and see if the child was okay. He let out a small sigh of relief when he felt a pulse from the boy's wrist and immediately picked him up. His first reaction seemed to be right. The child was terribly malnourished and would require immediate care. He was walking back quickly when the boy began to stir, making soft groaning noises as he subconsciously buried himself further into Chiriku's warm body. He began to open his eyes and when the monk looked down he nearly dropped the boy. After all, it wasn't every day you looked into the rippled pattern of the Rinnegan. "Hey, I see you are awake, that's good." Naruto's vision was fuzzy at best as he opened his eyes, his head swimming from exhaustion and hunger. He tried to lift his head only to suddenly feel incredibly nauseous, nearly falling off the somewhat Spartan bed he was lying on. "Careful, child, you shouldn't be trying to move just yet." A wrinkled but strong hand gently grasped his shoulder, guiding him back down onto the bed. The blonde tilted his head slightly, wincing as a light on a far wall nearly blinded him. "What's going on? Where am I?" His voice sounded incredibly weak, his throat dry. As if in answer he suddenly found a wooden cup pressed up against his parched lips. Gratefully he sipped at the cooling water, sighing in relief as he felt his thirst somewhat quenched for now. He tried opening his eyes again with limited success, only managing to catch the silhouette of the man sitting beside him. "You are at the fire temple, child. Young Chiriku found you while he was patrolling the grounds. It is a sanctuary for priests and monks such as myself to find solace in meditation." Naruto simply blinked in response, finally managing to prop himself up on his elbows and right his vision. The man sitting next to him was old, very old. His face was wrinkled almost to the point where it seemed his eyes were permanently squinted. A small pointed beard jutted from his chin, the hair grayed with a few streaks of white. Even so, his face was kindly and serene, as to be expected from a monk. However, the most amazing thing about him was that he seemed to be enshrouded in an aura of pure energy. his body aglow with that same ethereal blue light Naruto had seen ever since the incident which led to his self-imposed exile from Konoha. But where that energy had before seemed unruly and chaotic, around the monk it flowed calmly like water passing through a gentle stream. I see you do not know much of the world if my words confuse you. The man's smile took on a slightly more mischievous hue as he talked, his eyes squinting in a way Naruto found eerily reminiscent of his own fox-like look. Suddenly he blinked in surprise as he realized what the man had actually said, the information taking a few moments for his confused mind to etch. And dull. Hey, are you calling me stupid? His response was a throaty laugh as the man placed a placating hand on Naruto's shoulder. The blonde instinctively shied away from the contact, finding it unpleasant for a reason he couldn't quite place. It was familiar. Not at all, my lad. The old man looked away for a few moments as if in thought, however it was obvious even to Naruto that it was exaggerated. Let's just say, ignorant. He gave another kindly smile before his gaze took on a more serious disposition. Let me have a look at your eyes, child. I need to check on something. He leaned forward but Naruto quickly backed away from the man's hands. The old monk merely took his hands back, holding them in a placating manner. What are you gonna do to my eyes? The man chuckled in what he hoped was a disarming manner, waving his hand dismissively. Nothing, nothing, I merely want to take a look at them. Naruto seemed hesitant to comply at first but eventually he leaned forward, opening his eyes for the monk to see properly. Young Chiriku was correct then. He stayed like that for a few moments, gazing intently into Naruto's eyes as if they were the window to enlightenment. What is it about my eyes? And how do you see them when you squint so much? Once again the elderly monk merely chuckled, amused by the boy's brazen question. My, aren't you an energetic one? Tell me, what do you know about those eyes of yours? Avoiding Naruto's question, the man leaned back, gazing at the blonde evenly. Naruto simply looked confused as he blinked a few times, looking around for something reflective. My eyes, they're blue and they let me see stuff. What's it to you? The wizened monk raised an eyebrow at that as he reached inside the sleeve of his robe, producing a small hand mirror. Blue, you say? Is that what you see? Naruto took the small mirror presented to him with caution, before nearly dropping it in surprise. He stared intently into the reflective glass, looking one way, then another just to check what he was seeing was real. My eyes. What happened to my eyes? They look all weird. As Naruto fretted about his new appearance, the old monk gazed at him calmly, however a few more wrinkles appeared on his brow as he leaned back in. Those, my boy, are what are known as the Rinnegan, a dojutsu like the Sharingan or Byakugan. The blonde, drawn away from the mirror in his hands by the elderly voice, gazed at the monk in confusion. Dojuku, Sharingan, Bakulan. The monk chuckled to himself, not sure what he was thinking, trying to explain things such as these to a child. He offered a hand which the blonde seemed at first hesitant to accept but in the end took it anyway. Walk with me, child, we have a lot to talk about. Naruto gazed up at him, his new steely purple eyes wide with childlike innocence, even though behind that was something else. What's your name, my boy? They left the small room Naruto had been lying in and the blonde took the opportunity to look around. The corridor they were now in seemed just as bare and Spartan as the room he had awoken in. Seeing this, the old man beside him gave a warm, knowing smile and gestured to the bare walls and floor. This is a temple, child. We have little use for material possessions or gains. They are distractions from the pursuit of enlightenment. Seeing Naruto's confusion, he chuckled, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly in a very un-monk-like manner. We don't have a lot. Understanding now, the boy's eyes widened as he nodded his head. Yeah, I didn't have a lot back in Ko, he trailed off, looking down at the floor with a frown, the hand that wasn't occupied in the monk's clenching into a fist. Chukaku. Naruto looked up in surprise, shaken from his thoughts by the warm voice. The monk was looking down at him, his eyes squinted and a comforting smile across his features. My name is Chukaku, head monk of the fire temple here in Hai no Kuni. And yours? Naruto blinked once before coughing and rubbing the back of his head. Naruto. Chukaku seemed to draw in a deep breath, looking out a window into the grounds of the temple where a group of monks were running through their kata in perfect synchronization. A. Maelstrom, a good strong name. I feel your future will be filled with great things, if not hardship to get there. Seemingly pulled out of his trance-like state, he blinked rapidly, regaining his composure and earlier kindly stance. But as to only be expected, of course, we all must go through hardship to fully appreciate the gift that is life. Nay. Naruto just stared at him strangely for a few moments in awkward silence before Chukaku cuffed into his hand and began walking down the corridor again. Yes, well, anyway, you are more than welcome to stay here, Naruto. We cannot promise you a comfortable life, but you will have companionship and peace if you so choose. The blonde just stared up at him in wonder, his eyes wide in amazement. You would let me stay here? Chukaku merely chuckled to himself, not even bothering to turn around. Of course, what kind of monk would I be if I turned around a starving child on my doorstep? Come now, we shall go find you some food and a place to sleep. I'm sure Sora will be delighted to finally have somebody his own age to talk to. Suddenly the elderly monk felt Naruto stop, his hand slipping out of his wrinkled grip. He turned back only to see Naruto standing there, his head lowered with his messy hair shadowing his eyes. I can't. He sniffed loudly and Chukaku could see tears rolling down the boy's cheeks. I don't deserve it, I'm a monster. The young blonde was shocked though when he suddenly felt himself being embraced. Chukaku had taken him into a warm hug, gently patting the boy's back in a comforting manner. Don't say that, Naruto, you are not a monster. I refuse to believe any child such as yourself could ever be a monster. He stood up and for a moment Naruto was sad to feel the warmth from the embrace disappear. Quickly he found an old wrinkled palm held out before him, offering for him to take it. Come now, tell me your story. Naruto stood there for a moment before he wiped the tears off his face and took the outstretched hand. All right, Naruto, what do you know about chakra? The small blonde beside the old monk looked up to him with wide, naive eyes. Chotara. Chukaku merely chuckled as he patted the boy's head, much to the blonde's ire if his scowl was anything to go on. Naruto was now dressed in the more traditional robes worn by the Fire Temple monks, the loose linen clothing tied by a white sash. Chakra, Naruto. It is the lifeblood of the world, the energy that permeates everything and is produced in every living creature on the planet. By meditation and physical exercises one can slowly gain control over their chakra, molding it and forming it ways that allow us to do many wonderful and otherwise impossible things. He looked down with the same kindly smile only to see Naruto look away disinterestedly. With a raised brow Chukaku lightly bobbed the small blonde on the head with the end of his shakushu. Hey, what was that for? Chukaku merely put on an innocent smile as he hid the staff behind his body, despite it being taller than he was. Whatever do you mean, Naruto-kun? Although it is very poor manners to not pay attention when somebody is speaking to you. The young blonde merely scowled at the elderly man, rubbing his head lightly where he had been hit. However, when it looked like he would retort angrily, Chukaku merely twitched the hand holding his staff and Naruto backed off. Sorry, but this chakra doesn't sound all that amazing. Once again a solitary eyebrow rose on Chukaku's forehead as he began to walk towards a nearby wall, his shakushu jingling with each step. Oh no, you say you come from Konoha, right? Naruto didn't answer, but Chukaku caught his tensed posture out of the corner of his eye. That's a ninja village. At the mention of shinobi, the old monk could tell he now had Naruto's full attention. Chakra is what allows ninja to perform their various techniques in jutsu. If possible, at the mention of jutsu, Naruto became even more attentive. Jutsu, like fireballs and those cool exploding tags. Chukaku gave a small smile and a curt nod which only widened Naruto's eyes. Correct. You see, by balancing and combining the physical and spiritual energies in one's body you form chakra, which can then be controlled through the use of hand signs to mold in the way the technique requires. He stopped, standing next to one of the imposing walls of the temple, higher than most of the buildings it protected. However, that is not the end of it. Those skilled enough do not even require hand seals and can mold chakra through sheer concentration and focus. Naruto was practically bouncing on his feet at this point, so Chukaku decided to hammer the point home. In fact, I believe one of the earliest techniques taught to young ninja is the surface clinging exercise, like so. With that, the old monk kept walking, putting first one foot, then another on the wall until he was high above Naruto, who could only stare up with amazement in his eyes. using chakra to stick to a surface, no matter what it is. He walked back down at a leisurely pace, making it seem like he wasn't defying gravity but instead taking a calm stroll. Of course, there are other ways to mold chakra, you even mentioned one. At that, the blonde gained a confused expression which made Chukaku chuckle lightly. Those exploding tags, they work slightly differently. Instead of molding chakra inside the body, you apply it to special seals that mold it for you in whatever medium you choose, usually ink. This is a branch of the ninja arts known as Fuinjutsu. It has as many, if not more uses than its more traditional counterparts. At this point, Naruto seemed to have calmed slightly, just allowing himself to absorb all the information he had been given. So, what does chakra look like? Chukaku gazed at Naruto oddly for a few minutes before quietly chuckling to himself, irritating the young blonde. Hey, it's not like it's a dumb question or anything. The elderly monk quickly quietened down, patting Naruto's back fondly as he sighed. No, of course not. In fact, it is an excellent question, but probably one I should be asking you, all things considered. Naruto just looked up at him and in a manner as eloquent as ever he simply said. This time Chukaku suppressed his chuckle as he knelt down on creaking knees to look Naruto in the eye. You, my boy, are the one with the dojutsu, those rare eyes that allow humanity a glimpse at the unseen. He looked around, finally settling his gaze on a nearby pebble which he picked up. What do you see here? Naruto just blinked at the small rock, unsure if it was a trick question or not. A pebble. Chukaku just nodded with an expectant gaze. Is that all you see? Naruto just nodded with a furrowed brow. Yeah, why? Is it some kind of sacred stone or something? Chukaku laughed out loud at that as he absently tossed the stone over his shoulder. Of course not, my boy, it's just a pebble. Now look at me, what do you see? Again Naruto seemed puzzled by the question as he gazed at the old monk intently. I see you. Chukaku gave a sagely smile as he stood up to his full, if rather unimpressive full height. But is that all you see? Naruto blinked at that, frowning as he peered at the old monk. Well, you have this weird blue outline like you are glowing. Finally Chukaku grinned, patting the small boy on the shoulder as he turned to move on further into the temple. Well then, there's your answer. What you are seeing, or at least I can only assume, is chakra, my chakra to be specific. You could not see it in the pebble because it is not alive, so it cannot produce its own energy like plants or animals can. At this Naruto frowned, falling into step behind the wizened monk. But the pebble had an outline too. Chukaku stopped at that, blinking once before turning back to look at Naruto. It was kind of green, but it was weird, like I couldn't quite see all of it, like a puzzle piece without the rest of the puzzle. He groaned at that, one hand going up to pull at his hair in aggravation. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like that. Chukaku merely patted him gently on the shoulder, a serene expression on his face. It's alright, Naruto. Some people have spent their entire lives trying to unravel the mysteries of chakra and the many forms it comes in. Few succeed and fewer still are willing to divulge that information. In fact, the first, and last, was the very same man whose eyes you share. Naruto looked up in surprise at hearing there was somebody else with eyes like him. Who? Chukaku gave him a mysterious smile as he pushed open a door into a large room, filled with shelves stacked to the brim with various books and scrolls. The old monk walked over to one of the older shelves in the room, some of the corners having gathered many cobwebs. He tutted for a few moments as he looked over the shelves before picking out a book and blowing the fine layer of dust that had accumulated. He opened it, skimming through the pages until he came across what he was looking for. This man, the sage of the six paths. He dropped the book onto the desk, earning him a few stern looks from the other monks trying to read, as well as a small cloud of dust which had Naruto coughing. When his eyes finally stopped watering, he looked down at the page the book was open to. It was an image of a man, or at least the silhouette of a man, standing before an enormous beast with 10 tails and a single red eye filled with 9 tomo in concentric circles. A sword was in one hand and a shakushu in the other, held up as if warding the beast off. It seemed to be a rubbing of a wood carving, as there were no photos from that era. Who was he? Chukaku looked down at the image of the man said to be the founder of Shinobi, the first man to both discover and unravel the mystery of chakra. Well, by your eyes I suspect your ancestor, distantly of course. He was said to have lived over 1,000 years ago after all. Chukaku flipped the page revealing another image, this time of a rather crudely drawn but nonetheless shockingly similar image of a pair of Rinnegan eyes. Naruto traced the circles radiating out from the pupil with awe in his eyes, even as his other hand lifted up near his own eyes. What was he like? Chukaku chuckled lightly at that. He could remember standing before this very book in one of his countless sessions with his own master, the previous head monk, asking that very same question, so he knew just what to say. Unfortunately, not much is known about him. History doesn't stretch that far back as far as written records go. From what we know, he seemed to be some kind of wandering holy man, spreading his teachings about chakra and peace. Eventually he battled a great evil, banishing it from the world forever. Naruto thought back to the enormous creature from the first image and shuddered. He couldn't imagine fighting something like that, and it was only a picture. He was also said to have created the moon. Naruto spun around, looking up at the older man with incredulity, to which the monk just chuckled. But I don't put too much stock in that particular legend. Naruto returned to slowly tracing the image of the Rinnegan, or in his eyes. He must have been powerful. Chukaku just nodded at his side, an intense look on his wizened features as his gaze drifted from the book to Naruto himself. You know, they say his power came from his eyes, the eyes you now have. Naruto turned back to him, blinking in confusion as Chukaku placed a warm and firm hand on his shoulder. You may have been given a powerful gift, even if the circumstances were terrible. Those eyes give you unrivaled potential, you know, and with that potential comes great responsibility. I just etch. Hope you'll remember that when you have power one day. Naruto stared at him for a moment with wide eyes before nodding resolutely, fire in his eyes. Good. I see great things in your future, Naruto-kun. Now come, there's somebody I want you to meet. Chiriku-senpai, why are we out here? The small blonde was sitting in the middle of the largest training ground in the temple. It was towards the back and surrounded by high stone walls with the same seals that protected the main door of the temple. It was used by monks seeking to train new techniques that they hadn't fully mastered yet, where they wouldn't pose a threat to the rest of the temple. For safety reasons, Naruto, we don't want anybody getting hurt when we try this. Naruto just groaned as he rocked back and forth. The large stone slabs that made up the floor were very uncomfortable. Try what? You keep acting all mysterious, senpai. Chiriku finally gave a satisfied nod as he looked over 3 seals he had been setting up on the wall of the training ground. It mirrored the 3 others on all the other walls, chakra suppression seals. The bald monk honestly didn't believe that such a small boy could pose that much danger, but his master had told him to take extra precautions, so that is what he was doing. Okay, we're all ready to start now, Naruto. Are you ready? Chiriku turned to face his latest student. The two had been properly introduced shortly after Naruto and Chukaku's talk in the library. Naruto had thanked him for saving him, and quickly the two developed a teacher-student type relationship. It was refreshing for the warrior monk to have a new inquisitive mind to ask him questions. Ready for what, senpai? The bald monk merely smiled as he walked back over, sitting down in front of Naruto in a cross-legged position. After you, Chiriku frowned as he tried to think of the best way to say this to a child. Incident in Konoha. He winced as he caught the sudden tension in Naruto's posture, but continued anyway. He thought it would be better for Naruto to confront his past instead of trying to ignore it. You said you awoke in a crater. Master Chukaku believes this may be one of the inherent powers of your Rinnegan. We want to find out exactly what triggers this so we can replicate and, in time with training and meditation, control it. Naruto seemed less sure but nonetheless nodded, if hesitantly. Alright, now I am going to have to ask you to remember that night. Remember just what you saw, how it felt, everything. Naruto blinked in surprise before looking down, his hair overshadowing his eyes momentarily. That was the problem, he couldn't forget. He remembered every detail of that night like it was forever burned into his memory, that, and everything after it. The feel of Ayame's blood on his hands, the intense fear and self-loathing as he stared up at those spinning red eyes, the coppery tang in the air and the echoes of Ayame's scream still ringing through the room. Chiriku became alarmed as he felt an enormous amount of chakra build up inside Naruto. It was far more than a boy of his age should have been able to mold. Heck, it was big for a Chunin-level ninja. He backed away from the boy when he noticed tears begin to stream down his face, the pressure building up inside him growing stronger as the chakra was diverted to his eyes in one massive burst. Words that weren't his own suddenly appeared in Naruto's mind. It felt like saying them was the most rare thing in the world, instinctual almost. Shinra Tensei. Just like that the room exploded. When the smoke finally began to die down and Naruto stopped coughing, he once again found himself in a large crater, this time slightly shallower thanks to the seals suppressing a great deal of the damage. Even so, the effects of whatever he did were immense. Cracks had appeared in the slabs all around the crater, in some cases snaking out to the walls. Now that he could actually observe the after effects, he could see it wasn't a perfectly circular crater. Most of the damage was in front of him, making it more egg-shaped. He blinked suddenly as he realized something was wrong. Chiriku-senpai. Naruto glanced around, not spotting the bald monk anywhere, at least until the rest of the dust in the room settled. Chiriku-senpai. The blonde dashed to his feet, rushing over to Chiriku's still form propped up against a wall. His robes were tattered and in places torn, while it looked like he himself had been thrown against a very hard rock, repeatedly. Naruto just stood there in front of him, his eyes wide and watering. He collapsed bonelessly to his knees, his fingers clutching the fabric of the older monk's robes tightly as his body was racked by intense sobs. Suddenly he felt the body beneath him move as Chiriku took in a shuddering breath. The trained mink looked up into the mop of blonde hair trying to bury itself into his chest before chuckling lightly, only to wince in pain as his chest burned. Well, the first thing we need to do is work on meditation. Can't have you doing this to every training ground we have, nay. The small blonde looked up, tears in his eyes and staining his whiskered cheeks before he wrapped his tiny arms around Chiriku as far as he could. The monk winced at the pressure but just resigned himself to rubbing comforting circles on the boy's back as he looked around the training field. The damage was immense, even with the suppressing seals that he knew for a fact could withstand an A-ranked fire jutsu without so much as a scorch mark. Yet here this 7-year-old body had managed to put a crater in it about a foot deep with just a simple burst of chakra, at least that was what it had seemed like. It was certainly no wind jutsu. Chiriku had felt his share of those sparring against Asuma. He had never seen anything quite like it before, and that said a lot in his opinion. Such power for one so young. Master Chukaku was right about you, Naruto. You will grow up to be strong. The bald monk smiled at the thought even as another streak of pain flared in his chest, and I'll be there to guide you along the way for as long as I can. Chukaku looked up from his meditation as he heard a knocking on his fusuma. Soon after, Naruto meekly shuffled into the room, his hair hanging over his eyes as he managed to find something incredibly interesting about his feet. Yes, Naruto-kun, what can I do for you? The boy looked up for a moment, catching the older man's gaze for a split second before looking away. In that moment Chukaku saw fear, regret, a whole multitude of emotions running across those rippled purple eyes. I don't think I can do it. Chukaku stood up at this, walking over to the now trembling boy. Do what, Naruto? He placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder only for the boy to pull away, wrenching himself out of the firm grip. Everything, this training, learning to control this power. He looked up now and it was painfully obvious the boy had been crying. His eyes were reddened and there were still streaks running down his cheeks from the tears he had shed. Please, Master Chukaku, I don't want to hurt people anymore. Chukaku sighed at that, kneeling down on his old knees so he could look at Naruto from his level. Naruto, you wanted to be a shinobi, didn't you? The blonde looked up at that, blinking in confusion despite the new tears already welling up in his eyes. Did you know that as a shinobi you would have been asked to kill people? Chukaku almost flinched as he saw the horrified look on the boy's face. He hated to see such innocence lost, but he can. Oh, Naruto would only torment himself further if he didn't do something now. No ninja is without blood on their hands, not even the Hokage. Chukaku shook his head at that, especially not the Hokage. Naruto had stopped shaking now, looking at the elderly monk with a look caught between his sorrow and slight interest. But do you know what separates most shinobi from common thieves and murderers? Naruto blinked once, somehow unable to tear his gaze away from Chukaku's as he slowly shook his head. They know what they fight for, be it for the whom they spent so long protecting, or the bonds they made with the people they care about in order to protect them. The elderly monk sighed, even he had at one point fought and killed. You know, Naruto, after some men experience war and bloodshed, they forever vow never to harm anybody ever again, to shy away from all conflict. His eyes hardened at that as he almost lost himself to a lifetime of nostalgia and regret. Those people are cowards. Naruto's eyes widened at that, his shuddering had stopped and the tears were no longer flowing. Seemingly remembering what he was doing, Chukaku looked back around, a warm expression back on his face. You see, Naruto, peace is not about avoiding fights, it's about choosing them. Naruto blinked in an uncomprehending manner as Chukaku once again grasped him firmly on the shoulder. He didn't shy away from the touch this time. Choosing them, the head monk nodded once, a rather far-off look in his eye before he shook it off. You have a great power at your disposal, and with patience and training you can master it, becoming strong, very strong. But it is what you do with that strength that will define what kind of person you will become. Knowing how and when to use that power is what matters. The quest is finding what exactly you are willing to fight for, and that is a journey every human will embark on at some point in their lives. Chukaku left it at that as the room descended into a calm but not uncomfortable silence. Finally the small blonde seemed to find some resolution deep inside himself and nodded firmly, spurred on by the kindly monk's words. I think I understand now, thank you, master. Chukaku just gave a small serene smile as he watched the blonde quietly exit his room, a thoughtful expression that had no place on any child's face firmly set into his features. Chukaku sighed as he got back up and walked back to the spot he was in before to resume his meditation. Before he did though, he took one last look at the retreating shadow he could see through the Fusama. I hope so, Naruto-kun, for your sake. Damn it, Naruto, stop moving around so much. The sound of limbs slicing through air and the occasional grunt of exertion echoed through the small training room on the eastern edge of the fire temple as two combatants constantly moved back and forth in a graceful dance of punches and kicks. Maybe you just need to move faster, Sora. A grinning blonde ducked under another high kick before gracefully sliding through his opponent's legs. Before he could remove the other combatant's base though, the other boy jumped up, aiming for a heavy axe kick. At the last moment though, he suddenly found himself falling faster than he expected, throwing him off balance and leading to him falling in a crumpled heap on the ground. That's another point to me, Sora. The dark blue-haired boy looked up with a pained groan at the hand outstretched in front of him before taking it with a few mumbled curses. How many does that make now? 5-2. Sora scowled at the grinning blonde before pushing the hand away in irritation. I would have had you that time if you hadn't used your gravity manipulation. It's cheating. Naruto just chuckled as he patted his friend on the back. All's fair in love and war, as Chiriku-senpai says. Sora just scoffed as a smile finally broke out on his face. Yeah, and what would Chiriku-senpai know about love? At that both boys burst out laughing, the joyous sound bouncing around the small training area. Oh! At the sound of a third voice, both boys immediately froze before shakily turning their heads to look into the amused expression of the very man they had been talking about. And what does Chiriku-senpai know about love? Outside, two monks were passing by the training ground when they heard two loud bells followed swiftly by two even louder thumbs. The monks simply looked at each other once before sighing and continuing on with the same thought. Naruto and Sora again. Sorry, Chiriku-senpai. Back inside the training ground, Sora and Naruto were rubbing their aching heads while Chiriku was the picture of serene innocence, despite the shakushu he was subtly resealing into a pouch on his hip. Now boys, final bell is about to ring. We don't want you all sweaty before you go to bed. You know how Chigasu would feel about that. Both boys nodded immediately with slight fear in their eyes. They knew exactly how the old grumpy keeper of the temple would feel about that in the mirror though. T had them rubbing various phantom pains. Alright, Chiriku-senpai, but first I gotta show you something. The older monk simply raised an eyebrow at the excited blonde. A year living in the temple really hadn't done all that much to calm his energetic spirit. Would this thing happen to be a certain technique Master Chukaku has forbidden you from using in any of the indoor training grounds? The blonde smiled sheepishly as he rubbed the back of his neck, glaring at Sora as the other boy chuckled behind his hand. He was remembering the other times Naruto had supposedly mastered the more powerful techniques at his disposal. No, come on Chiriku-senpai, I swear I have it this time. I know what I was doing wrong. The older monk stared at the whiskered child for a few moments as Naruto bravely met his gaze before sighing and gesturing outside. Fine, but not inside. We don't need a repeat of last time. As if to stress his point, he looked across the open field they were entering to a large hole in the wall. On the far side. The result of Naruto's latest attempt at his technique. Not gonna happen, just watch me. With an excited cry, Naruto dashed across the fields to face one of the pre-prepared training dummies before adopting a standard fighting stance. Sora dropped to the ground, getting comfy for something he was sure was going to be hilarious while Chiriku watched more intently. Naruto relaxed himself, concentrating on the pool of energy deep inside himself, drawing it out and directing it through his body. He allowed it to build up inside him but controlled it from becoming too strong. He had learned the consequences of that the hard way. Finally he pushed the chakra to his eyes and hand at the same time, simultaneously bringing one arm up so his palm faced outwards in one smooth motion. Shinra Tensei. Sora and Chiriku could only watch on amazed as the training dummy was summarily obliterated by the veritable wall of gravitational forces slamming into it. It soared across the field, flying out of sight over the roof of the next building over, raining stuffing and bits of hay down. As it went, unfortunately that wasn't the only thing that went flying. Voa! Almost as fast as the training dummy was blasted away, Naruto was sent flying back in the opposite direction. However, he came to a much quicker stop, embedded in a wall a few feet away. Arg! Like a marionette with its strings cut, he flopped to the ground, leaving a surprisingly accurate imprint of his body in the wooden wall. A few seconds of silence passed before Sora burst out into an uncontrollable fit of laughter. Even Chiriku had to stifle a few chuckles before walking over and helping his student up from the ground. I'm impressed, Naruto. You finally managed to direct the force of the technique, although you might need to work on counteracting that force on yourself. Naruto just nodded limply, his eyes looking slightly distant as he gazed up at the three sets of his senpai looking down at him. Soon after, Sora came over and gave Naruto a shoulder to lean on, but not before he finished his laughing fit. Even so, while he found his friend's misfortune as funny as any good friend would, he had to be impressed by the sheer power behind the attack. He certainly wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of it. Alright Chiriku-senpai, I'll help Naruto to his room. We were going to have another spar but I don't think he's in that condition right now. Chiriku just nodded once before turning and retiring to his own quarters, even as the evening bell began to toll around the temple. Sora hefted Naruto up so that his arm was slung around his friend's shoulders and began walking in the direction of the living quarters. You are always doing this, you know. His only response from the blonde was a groan and a small chuckle which made the monk in training smile. You are always trying to do the impossible. Again he didn't get much of a response from his injured friend. Even so, you'll go ahead and try it over and over again until you get it right, won't you? He looked down and found Naruto grinning weakly up at him, a knowing glint in his squinted eyes. And then you'll try and one-up me. Sora chuckled at that but didn't deny Naruto's statement. What can I say? You are a bad influence on me. And stop doing that. You look like Master Chukaku when you narrow your eyes. Naruto just nodded wearily before allowing his head to droop again. By now they had reached Naruto's room and with a bit of maneuvering on Sora's part he managed to slide open the fusuma and lie Naruto down on his futon. Get some rest and we'll see tomorrow how the score turns out. He looked around when he got no reply but saw that Naruto was already asleep. Sora just chuckled as he slipped out of the room quietly. His friend was a real idiot sometimes. Sora, this is Naruto. He'll be staying at the temple with us for the foreseeable future and I want you to show him around the temple. Blonde hair peeked out nervously from behind Chukaku's robes, catching the young trainee monk's attention. Ohayo, I'm Naruto. The blue-haired youth just stared at the boy for a few moments before tentatively holding out his own hand as they shook. It was an obviously awkward scene, neither child having had good experiences with people their own age, or in Sora's case, no experience period. Good. I know you two will become the best of friends. Now I have some paperwork to do, so run along. With that, the elderly monk turned on a heel and calmly trotted away from the scene. So, what's it like being a monk? Sora just blinked at the whiskered boy before looking away at a wall. I don't really know. I've always lived here, so I don't know much else, but it's nice. Naruto nodded at that with a small smile as his posture became less tensed. So what do you do for fun? Sora blinked again, finding this very different to talking with the monks who were always very reserved and self-assured. Well, we have breakfast in the morning followed by meditation and training, then lunch then. ... Naruto waved his hands in front of him, cutting the boy off. No, I mean like for fun. In your spare time and stuff. When you're not training or anything. Sora frowned as he looked at Naruto. This was a surreal experience for the boy, that was for sure. Well, the library is always available for recreational reading. Naruto blinked once before hanging his head down, a metaphorical cloud suddenly appearing over his head. That sounds so boring. Sora suddenly gained a tick mark over his eye as he slammed Naruto over the head with his covered his eye twitching in irritation. The monk's pursuit of enlightenment is not boring. It's a spiritual journey into one's soul, and as such, Sora trailed off as he saw Naruto miming along to his words with his hand with a decidedly unimpressed look on his face. Like I said, boring. The blonde flopped to the ground, adopting an incredibly poor attempt at a meditative pose. I mean, what's the big deal with sitting like this anyway? Sora's eye began to twitch again, suddenly regretting getting lumped with this obvious idiot. Suddenly, though, a superior smirk appeared over his face as he too got onto the floor, adopting the correct pose for meditation with his palms facing up, his hands in loose fists and his knuckles touching. Well, Chiriku-senpai says that it takes the utmost skill and concentration to properly meditate. Obviously such things are beyond you. At that, Naruto looked up in annoyance, his own tick developing over one eye. Oh yeah, I bet it's not so hard. I could meditate way better than you could. He looked over the position Sora was in and quickly adjusted his own posture to match. If Sora hadn't been so annoyed with the blonde, he might have been impressed at Naruto's first attempt. Instead, he simply raised a haughty eyebrow in mild contempt. Amateur. When he didn't get any response, he looked up to see Naruto's head turned away, his eyes closed in a mockery of meditation. It was obviously an exaggerated way of ignoring Sora. The blonde quickly found a fist buried in his skull and an angry Sora above him. Hey, don't ignore me. From a nearby window, Chukaku watched the whole scene with his mouth hidden by his sleeve. A mild chuckle escaped his lips as he observed the two boys' interaction. He knew it was a good idea to introduce the two, for the other monks' amusement if nothing else. Chukaku looked up from his desk with a fond, nostalgic smile as he thought back on the last year since Naruto had joined the temple. It was quickly marred with a frown, however, as he once again picked up the piece of paper he had been reading. He sighed as he placed it to one side, quickly drafting up the same response he had written every time he received a letter like this. Finishing with a flurry as he signed his name, he sealed it into an envelope ready to give to the passing mail Anyong the next morning. He sighed again as his gaze drifted over to the seal on the envelope the message had come from, the seal of the Hokage. He would change the wording every time, sometimes offering things in return, but the gist was always the same: bring Naruto back to Konoha. In the same manner, his answer never changed from a firm and resounding no. As long as Naruto was under the roof of the Fire Temple, Chukaku would see he never had to return to his old home. The young blonde had told him about his life there after some coaxing, and the elderly monk was appalled. He had worked out from the boy's treatment and the villagers' vehement requests for him to be returned just what he was, as well as from his appearance just who he was, although it was speculation until he could find evidence. Even so, he found the villagers' blatant hatred of a child horrific, especially considering the burden that was already on the poor boy's shoulders. What made it all the better was that he had the power, the authority, and the influence to keep Naruto here, whether the Hokage or anybody else had anything to say about it or not. The Fire Temple was firmly under his control as head monk, and in turn he reported directly to the Fire Daimyo, nobody else. He had known the man since he was just a baby in his mother's arms and had always made sure to be in his favor. What's more, the man knew better than to upset the person who controlled his protection detail, the 12 Guardian Shinobi. Of course, it was always Naruto's decision. If the boy ever actually wanted to return to his old home, Chukaku would not stop him. He would of course be sad to see the boy leave. The temple had been a much brighter place since the boy was introduced. However, he had never seen any indication Naruto wanted to leave. In fact, the boy seemed incredibly happy here, like he had found a smile long since thought forgotten. Chukaku was suddenly broken from his musings as he heard a loud commotion somewhere outside. He moved to the window, a troubled frown creasing his already wrinkled brow as he spotted what looked like a fire on the other side of the temple. However, it was when he saw the first flicker of red and felt a malevolent aura wash over the area that he immediately rushed from the room. Naruto's short-lived sleep was troubled, filled with orange fur and blood-red eyes before he awoke with a start. Cold sweat covered his body, making his robes stick to his skin uncomfortably as he panted. He took a deep breath before raising himself onto his elbows. Glancing over at the clock on his wall, he noted it had only been about half an hour since Sora had brought him to his room. More than that, though, there was a presence in the air, weighing down on him like an invisible weight. Getting to his feet, he was shocked to see flames out his window. His eyes widened even as his feet carried him out of his room and towards the fire. He got there to see it was one of the smaller temple buildings. The walls and roof were up in flames. The orange and yellow tendrils of fire were licking at the sky as smoke billowed out from the building in choking sheets. There was a gathering of monks, some attempting to douse the flames with buckets and water ninjutsu while others seemed to crowd around something else. He took a few hesitant steps toward the second group until he felt a familiar hand grip his shoulder. "No, Naruto, you have to stay away, it's dangerous." He looked up to see Chukaku, his normally serene features marred by worry and concern. Suddenly a monk was tossed out of the group like a rag doll, landing not far from them. It distracted Chukaku long enough for Naruto to break out of his grip and rush forward. He didn't want to be treated like a child. This was his home now and he would protect it with his life if he had to. Ignoring Chukaku's desperate cries, Naruto barged his way past two monks only to freeze in surprise at what he saw. Sora stood at the center of a ring of monks, except it wasn't the Sora Naruto had known for the past year. He was hunched over, a crazed expression in his eyes as an evil grin lifted the corners of his mouth. The arm that he usually kept covered was a mottled red, spiky protrusions jutting out at random, and the fingers had become more like claws. Worst of all, his entire body was enshrouded by a cloak of intense red chakra, bubbling like it was alive. Three tails slowly swayed back and forth behind him. "Sora!" Naruto's cries only served to draw the boy's attention to him, his now red and slitted eyes locking firmly on the blonde. However, there was no recognition there, only an insane bloodthirsty glee, like a predator spotting its next meal. Naruto took a step back as he saw the pure malice behind the boy's eyes. It wasn't Sora, it just couldn't be. Naruto stopped. The blonde just barely heard Chiriku's voice along with a few others, no doubt monks concerned with his safety. He ignored them anyway, rushing forward towards the creature his friend had become. He didn't make it within 3 meters of him before a malicious red tail swatted him away from the side, moving faster than he could even follow. He landed a few meters away, his clothing ripped and torn in a few places, and he knew there were few spots that would bruise the following morning. Even so, he picked himself up on shaking legs, a desperate look in his eye as he looked at his friend. Sora had turned away from him, obviously having lost interest in the prey that put up barely any fight. Naruto's features set into a determined mask as he watched another monk get battered away by those tails. He set his feet into a solid stance, already drawing up the chakra from inside of him and directing it to both his eyes and his hands. Discreetly he placed his other hand behind him, pointing in the opposite direction as he finally released the pent-up chakra. Bunsho Tenon. Naruto immediately felt the pull on his body like gravity had been temporarily inverted, but the hand he had behind him kept him glued in place. Sora, on the other hand, was in no such luck as he suddenly found himself flying through the air towards Naruto, unable to react in time to do anything about it. The blonde had already pulled his hand into a fist, ready to knock some sense into his friend. However, at the last moment it unfurled. The possessed Sora blinked in confusion as he suddenly found himself wrapped up in an iron-like grip. Naruto's hands were firmly wrapped around his friend's back, his chin over one shoulder. The tails behind him waved uncertainly for a moment, as lost as the one guiding them. Please Sora, I don't understand what is going on, but please stop this. A solitary tear rolled down Naruto's cheek, evaporating as it touched the cloak of pure chakra covering Sora. Just stop this, let me help you. He hugged tighter, ignoring the pain as the malevolent chakra began to burn his skin and rip away at his already tattered clothing. Stop it. Suddenly Sora seemed to freeze, the tails stopping in mid-sway as if caught in some invisible giant's hand. Ever so slowly the long red tails began to shrink back into the cloak, even as the cloak itself slowly began to leak off of Sora's body. The chakra seemed to twitch in midair before slowly being absorbed into Naruto. As it did so, the burns and bruises across Naruto's body began to heal so fast the monks around them could actually see it happening. Finally, when the entire cloak had disappeared and Sora's features had returned to normal, the two boys collapsed to the ground, Naruto still clutching Sora tightly to H. I aim. Chiriko and Chukaku immediately rushed over to see if they were okay. Aside from Sora's intense chakra exhaustion and a few burns across his skin, they were perfectly fine, just unconscious. Chukaku let out a long sigh of relief as he looked down at the two before turning to the assembled monks. He was simply glad there had been no casualties, however he would still have to explain that to the rest of the monks tomorrow, and he knew that would be exhausting. Not to mention Naruto was going to be asking questions too, and Chukaku was sure he would be hard-pressed to answer them. Alright, start putting out those fires, we'll begin repairing the damages tomorrow, for now get some rest. As soon as the murmuring dies down and the monks began to disperse, he took another look at the two boys on the ground. How can two boys so young bear such a heavy burden? Drip. Naruto felt strangely at peace, the air was still but not humid or uncomfortable. Drip. The ground beneath him, while hard, was not inherently painful, he had grown used to relatively hard bedding anyway. Drip. There were no aches wearing his body like he had expected there to be. Drip. He gently moved a hand up his body, feeling for where he knew he had been burned by that foul chakra. Drip. Strangely, all he felt was his normal smooth skin, not even any bandages. Drip. Likewise, his clothing seemed fresh, there was no noticeable damage. Drip. In fact, drip. Shut up. Naruto blinked as his voice echoed out through. Wherever he was, it was certainly not the temple, that was for sure. He got to his feet, once again marveling that he didn't feel at all hurt and his skin was unblemished. He looked around, his steely purple eyes taking in his strange surroundings with a frown. As far as he could tell, it seemed to be the basement level of some kind of industrial building. He had found himself in one once when he was exploring in Konoha, except the one he found himself in was much cleaner. Pipes ran the length of the ceiling, disappearing off into the darkness in both directions of the seemingly endless corridor. There were many of them, but one in particular caught his eye as it was much larger than the rest. It was also the only one that was leaking, obviously the cause of the irritating dripping. Sure enough, he watched as a single drop of some foul red liquid gathered at the bottom of the pipe into a dropple tea before falling to the floor. Whatever it was, Naruto knew better than to touch it. When it made contact with the floor, it sizzled for a moment, eating away at the ground. However, more amazingly, the floor seemed to immediately repair itself, the small hole disappearing like it had never been there. He watched this repeat 3 times before tearing his gaze away. It was oddly hypnotic. Having nothing better to do, Naruto began to walk down the corridor. It didn't seem to matter which way he took, they looked exactly the same. Every so often he would reach another leak in the pipe, the only indicator he was actually moving at all. Finally, though, he reached a fork. He blinked, looking down both identical passageways before shrugging and heading right. After maybe another 5 minutes of walking without any indication he was getting anywhere, Naruto finally stopped. He liked to imagine that a year in a temple had somewhat calmed him and given him some semblance of patience. However, the truth was Shinra Tensei. The area around Naruto erupted in an explosion of pure gravitational forces, his hands outstretched to either side to evenly distribute the blast. However, when he opened his eyes, he nearly fell to his knees in shock and despair. The walls were completely unharmed. There wasn't even a single indication his technique had done any damage, not even the pipes seemed affected, they just kept dripping away. However, Naruto did manage to spot one strange thing out of it. Just to test it, he began to build up chakra within his body again, feeling the flow in his pathways as it circulated at a faster rate under his direction. His ear twitched as he looked up at the pipes above him. It was unmistakable. Whatever was flowing through the smaller pipes sped up when he began to gather chakra and likewise slowed down when he harmlessly allowed it to disperse. Weird. With an irritated sigh, Naruto just resigned himself to walking along the pathway. However, no sooner than he put one foot in front of the other, he felt it, that same malicious aura that Sora had been emitting. His eyes widening in panic, Naruto took off at a sprint down the corridor in the direction he felt the presence coming from. If Sora was having another attack, he needed to be there for his friend. After another 5 minutes of running, as Naruto became increasingly worried, he finally turned a corner only to skid to a stop. In front on him was a massive room, a change from the otherwise cramped hallways, but the most noticeable feature was the enormous metal gate spanning the length of one wall, and behind it, Naruto couldn't be sure. Darkness stretched on beyond the gate, showing no visible floor or ceiling, making it seem like Naruto was staring out into nothingness. Of course, it didn't stay that way for long. Two enormous eyes cracked open in the darkness as Naruto stepped into the room. Their slitted black pupils framed by red stared through him, piercing him with their gaze. They were followed by an equally large mouth, teeming with teeth as it stretched into a horrific facsimile of a grin. Each gleaming white tooth was taller than Naruto was himself and looked like they could tear through just about anything. So my jailer finally honors me with his presence, and with a gift of my own chakra, no less. How very. The two massive eyes narrowed slightly as whatever invisible head they were attached to lowered to better look at Naruto, simultaneously.